and welcome to another riveting edition of XFeed. My name is The Schiller, the host of this adventure that we are about to go on, because normally we stream a little bit later, right? But it's not even noon yet, and the amount of massive, and I mean massive announcements seems like it's just coming out of the woodwork, like actually insane, actually insane. So before we get into that, let's have a little bit of a laugh session. Is backed by Kato the new backed by Binance Labs, backed by Paradigm, throw in backed by Animoca Brands, or backed by a tier 1 exchange in VC? Going back, we went through an entire stream, and I think this is back when the Grapes NFT collection, when that one like super mega viral, there was almost everything that was coming out saying it's backed by Animoca Brands, and almost all of it completely failed, or at least in the short term didn't really look that hot. And so now it is funny though that we do see kind of like the Kato integration with almost everything. If you don't know what Kato is, it's basically a platform that like looks at social trends and is able to depict, hey, this person has an attraction, this person is talking about this subject a lot. And so we'll see how it flushes out, but there's a lot of conversations around that. Completely unrelated to Web3, but the live action Lilo and Stitch grossed $341 million globally. I didn't even know they made a Lilo and Stitch live action. Now we know. Toads look good here. Crypt Toads up 2x since Xcopy tweeted his purchase 3 days ago. Now this was the other day, as in yesterday at 3:37 p.m. But the point being, we still have this thing in Web3, where if you're a notable individual, you talk about a certain NFT collection, you can create these narratives. People are excited about this. What makes this one better than another one? The artist, the community, the thought, the historical value. Yeah, the bad. We go over and over and over and over. But do you have a Cryptodes? Do you think you'd want one? I remember when these were going for like 10 ETH at a point, but now it looks like they're trading for about an ETH. So not bad. This was sort of funny. If you haven't seen, we talked about it yesterday, but Red Bull Racing that's integrated with F1 is doing NFTs on Abstract. But if you remember, ApeCoin has a partnership with Alpine, which is also F1, and now Alo's kind of pointing out the fact of like, well, how come that's getting all the attention, but the one that we have is not? And maybe that's the deals, maybe it's the integration, maybe it's the people involved, but it is ultimately a good question to have. This is a collection that has taken the timeline by absolute storm. We can get into the arguments about like potential IP infringement, but let's just look at it for face value. The 8th project. I want this collection to be accessible to everyone, so I've decided to change the mint price to 0.019. 151 unique pieces await for you. And so you look at it, and if you're familiar with Pokemon, you'd be like, all right, we got Dragonite, we got Gengar, Haunter, and you can tell, all right, these are based off of Pokemon characters. Now, obviously, they don't have the rights or anything to use the likeness per se, but does it matter? Is this so different that you can just say, all right, well, these aren't actually those characters? I mean, we saw with Pal World a huge cease and desist thing. We've seen across the NFT space where people have taken down other collections regarding it. Is this something that's just going to go by and going to be cool? Because we have some mega players within the Web3 space talking about it this morning. Yo, Corwin, what is good, my friend? Now, what's not good? The leverage trader James Wynn. Down another 5 milli on top of the 65 that they've been longing and shorting Bitcoin on Hyperliquid. What an unbelievable stat. I was joking yesterday in the segment Discord being like, you know, growing up, I always thought that I wanted to be a firefighter. Evidently never got there. But do people grow up now and be like, I want to be a leverage crypto trader? Like, is that actually a career choice that people have? Not in that situation, though. My goodness. Intel, Thailand will allow tourists to pay with cryptocurrency and is preparing to reform related regulations. That's kind of interesting. Also to think, like, I haven't traveled internationally for a bit, But like whenever I went to the States or elsewhere, you got to go to these exchanges. You got to take the physical bills, change it over. Sometimes at the airports they have them. Sometimes you got to go like to a mall or a specific facility. It's like imagine if everywhere just accepted crypto and you didn't have to go to any establishment. You could just have it on your phone electronically. Phenomenal. Breaking. Stablecoin giant Circle files for IPO on New York Stock Exchange per CoinDesk. What to know? Circle Internet Group has filed for an IPO on the New York Stock Exchange, which we just read. Dummy. The company is offering 24 million Class A shares with 9.6 million from the firm and 14.4 million from the stakeholders. The shares are expected to be priced between $24 and $26, trading under the ticker Circle, which just without the E and the I, finish off Circle. The confusing part of this is it's been all over the news. And this is where it's like, all right, so is it fake news trying to get interest around Circle? Because we saw not that long ago that Ripple, and I forget who the other player was, but the fact that Circle might have gotten acquired. And Circle's like the issuer of USDC. So that's like mega massive, right? And Ripple's obviously working within their stablecoin as well. And so it sort of made sense, but then we see this and you're like, that probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense now. And neither does this. So there's reports like a day ago that Trump's media group was going to do all this crazy stuff to buy crypto, right? And then it's coming out that, okay, that's no, we're not, right? So we have it's happening to no, it's not, which is similar to the Ripple case, right? And so we have this reputational interest. Corwin got this email. A new IPO Circle Internet Group is now on Robinhood. I mean, that was quick. Is that real or is that fake? See, I mean, make sure that that's not a fake scam email, because I've seen some crazy things on the timeline. Is real? Okay, damn, that that happened hella quick. But the point being with what I'm trying to like position this as is we just had fake news essentially about Ripple acquiring Circle, from what we understand, right? And then we have the Trump's media team or buying crypto. Apparently that's not happening. But then for the stable coins, and Travis John, which I had on the recent episode of the RWA Segments podcast, would love for you guys to listen to it. Super insightful episode. But he's saying stable coins will stabilize crypto's rocky reputation. And I'm like, I agree with people being able to do stuff within stable coins, have like an actual dollar value, and trying to fix these things. But there's all these news and all these things of like, where the hell do you put your trust? How do you deal with these things? And this is another example. So the ApeCoin DAO, this is continually talked about almost every day. And we've seen within Pixel Vault where the DAO is now dissolving. There's people that are like, what the hell was the point of the DAO? We haven't voted or like achieved certain things. And others are like, well, you haven't contributed to it. And there's all this back and forth. And basically like, they didn't really do a whole lot of like smart moves with it, but it was up to the people. And this is why, you know, having community councils, having the community takeovers, there's so many things that can go horrifically wrong if you don't have the right people in charge across crypto. And so Dim's saying, what is happening with the ApeCoin DAO? No one understands anything, back and forth, stop and go. DMs full of angry people that don't care, don't dare to speak in public, afraid to be seen as fudders, or because they are scared to be blacklisted for grants or the banana bill. I'm just like, the drama, stupidity about things, don't let others listen. Just have one person that's like reasonable, trying to lead things. I feel like DAOs have been arguably a huge failed experiment. I mean, obviously they've been around for longer, but you just see it and you're like, ah. And then so what we were told is not true is apparently true, where Trump media announced this $2.5 billion deal to create a Bitcoin treasury. So it goes back to, all right, what do you believe? Is that true? Is that not true? And then we have that announcement that just happened leading into a flood of other crazy ones. Have you spoken about Mamo yet? Are you going to? Holding off on a share if you're going to talk about it? I don't know if I know what Mamo is. Should I? Listen, I'm not meeting the expectations of Corwin. That's never good. A company called Sharp Link Gaming. By the way, I'm down to look at it, but if you want to let me know what it is. So a company called Sharplink Gaming has announced a $425 million strategic Ethereum reserve strategy. Consensus is the lead investor, with Ethereum Joseph joining the board of the company. Consensus creators of MetaMask. The ticker is ETH. Reading through this quickly, Sharplink Gaming today announced that it has entered the securities purchase agreements for a private investment in public equity for the purchase and sale of 69,000 shares of common stock at the price of $6.15 per share for certain members of the company's management team for expected aggregate gross proceeds of approximately $425 million before deducting placement agent fees and other offering expenses. Okay. First line, we didn't even read. Consensus Software acted as the lead investor, and the offering included participation by prominent crypto venture capital firms and infrastructure providers. Again, listen to the names here, such as Parify Capital, Electric Capital, Pantera Capital, Arlington Capital, Galaxy Digital, Ondo, White Star Capital, GSR, Hivemind Capital, Hypersphere, Primitive Ventures, and Republic Digital, among others, including Rob Fythian, Sharplink CEO, and Robert DeLucia, Sharplink's CFO. So the question, right, with this, if we're gonna just pepper you with a question, is, well, that means that there's a lot of people that are down to like just absolutely eat money into crypto. And you have a huge bulk of names where it's felt very, very quiet on that front, where we seem like all these teams, games, everything shutting down. But on the flip side of things, we have what's going on here. We got Brian Armstrong. Let's go check it out. What do we got? What do we got, brother? I signed up and tried it out. Pretty smooth onboarding. We need to keep making Coinbase pay smoother with fewer steps. Now that I'm signed up, well, not sure what to do next. Most financial tools feel overwhelming. They're designed for people who already speak the language of finance. Mamo Agent, notice agent, takes a different path. It's built for the rest of us, for people who want to grow their money without making it their full-time job. I'm Mamo, a smarter way to track, grow, and understand your money step by step without stress. So this is the thing, right? And like, this is just like a random thought. I've not really looked into this like too much. Obviously, we just found out about it. But is there really like a world where we can just say, all right, we have an AI agent, I'm going to give it $100, and one day I'm going to wake up with 1,000. Like, is that like actually a thing? Where are the risks with it? What's going on here? So this is a thread. Let's read it right quick for Corwin. In summer 2020, when the world locked down for COVID, I began exploring smarter ways to grow money through chasing trends, but calm, steady systems that compound over time. My friends at Coinbase took notice. Some suggested I started a fund, but I had a different vision. As generative AI revolutionized the world in 2023, I was working on decentralized apps at Moonwell DeFi and began thinking about agents with a wallet and how we might automate the systems for passive wealth creation I developed in the last 2 years. The tech wasn't ready. That vision materialized in 2025 at the Coinbase AI Hackathon, where I collaborated with engineers from Apple, X, Lyft, and Coinbase to build what would become a Mamo Agent. Okay, sure, we'll give it a follow. You sold me, Corin. The concept immediately resonated, winning the grand prize for both virtuals and Coinbase. After the hackathon, the team and I reconnected at ETH Denver and designed a smart contract system for Mamo Agent that was non-custodial, where you remain in control of your money and the agent can't take your funds. We had it audited twice, and bada boom. Mamo puts your portfolio on autopilot, making sure you're always earning the best rate. Mamo works in the background, scanning for the best opportunities across safe, trusted strategies like Moonwell DeFi and Morpho Lab vaults. Mamo reinvests your earnings by compounding. Add, pause, or withdraw at any time. You're in control always. Mamo communicates like a helpful friend, automatically placing your funds where they can earn more. You know, this is great because I'm trying to think of like the friends that would like reach out and be like, yo, you're into crypto. What do I get into? And then like, you're like, all right, well, first of all, you get into something that I'm into and it goes horrifically, you're going to hate me forever. Number two, we're going to have this back and forth of you questioning all this stuff. And yeah, no. So this sounds like an easy, happy medium of like, hey, just have the AI agent go over you. Do everything with you. So that's kind of cool. There's also a token for that. And yeah, I'm not going to go through all the rest of it, but that's kind of cool. Corbin, how did did that just come up on your timeline today? But the point being, I guess ultimately is when you reflect on that, you're like, all right, you have these massive funds in crypto that are like, okay, this is the future, right? Like that is a huge bet on top of another one that we're going to get into in a second. But then you have these AI agents that are making everything worthwhile. And you just have people that are like, yo, have a little bit of extra cash. There we go. Someone else I follow is following them and it hit my feed. Hell yeah. Listen, the algorithm knows. Intel, Vivek Ramaswamy's firm Strive has raised $750 million to build a Bitcoin treasury with plans to acquire Mt. Gox Bitcoin claims and pursue strategies aimed at outperforming Bitcoin. Okay, so we have like a massive 400 plus million ETH fund. We have 750 million going in from Vivek here. We got the media team going crazy for stuff. And I mean, and then we got the minnows, you and I, right? We're swimming along, trying to catch the wave here. But things are happening, and it's happening fast. And MetaMask adding support for Solana network, trying to be the default wallet for everything. What a day. I'm curious if we've actually had any price action based off of what's happened as well. Bitcoin, not real. Dude, look at that. $110,000 American. Unreal. So we've had a little bit of an uptick. I mean, these announcements have come out like more than just now. So if something was going to move the price, right? Sometimes we have headlines that move the price. And I mean, I guess that's a better looking upwards trajectory than the others. But Ethereum at $2,600. Unreal. Unfreaking believable. I feel like I haven't seen Sol on the timeline a whole lot, but it's up 6% in the past couple days at $178. XRP feels sort of flat too. But again, like going back to the news articles that we just had not too long ago about Circle, the IPO, and before that announcement even happening, that Ripple and some other player that I can't remember was supposed to acquire it. I don't know. Reading the news, all this stuff is like, what's real? What's fake? What's going to move the markets? Uncertainty. Watching the leverage trader on Bitcoin up $80 million, and then apparently like down 14 or something crazy right now. They're 60, up 80, down 60. Unreal. That's your go-to to not using leverage. But that's going to be it for this edition of XFeed. Corbin, thank you so much for coming on through and joining in on the chat today, and everybody that watches the VOD afterwards or watching and just, keeping to yourself. Appreciate you tuning in. I'll catch you tomorrow as per usual, and have a phenomenal rest of your Tuesday. Peace.